Hi again, this is the second part of the pyramid story. The last sentence I read from the first part was this: slowly I fall asleep from sheer exhaustion, a long sleep of oblivion. It took me a long time to wake up because I did not have the courage to face my situation. Moving a little at a time, I succeeded in sitting up, and I tried to contemplate the preceding sequence of events, to comprehend why I had been buried alive, what I had done wrong. My helplessness conferred on me a sort of calm indifference, which enabled me to reconstruct my crawling and my probing about the grotto in an observant and calculating manner. There were two details I could not fit into the picture or explain. Why were there vertical furrows in the walls of the downward sloping corridor? Why were the walls and the ceiling of this chamber, as far as I could judge from the limited area which I was able to reach with my hands, smoothly worked, while the floor was uneven? One could crawl almost all the way to the ceiling. One could crawl all the way to the ceiling. One could crawl all the way to the ceiling. The vertical furrows, the floor is unfinished. The ceiling is smoothly worked stone. I can almost hear the soft creaking of my brains. Something is dawning on me. If I crawl back to where the furrows appear, if I tried again, this cannot possibly be the end. There must be a possibility of satisfaction. It must be possible to pass the obstruction they made before. I want to survive. It cannot be right that I must die here. So much wrong I have not done. True, I have done many wrong things in my life, and perhaps I have also teased the other disciples a little too much. But this cannot lead to my dying here. An incredible sense of relief begins to pervade me. Despite the heavy air down here, I feel I can breathe more deeply and freely. I want upwards, upwards. Now I remember clearly the face of my teacher. He is not such a hard man that he would let me die just because I chose the wrong pyramid. He is intent on teaching me something, not on killing me. And now I remember the strangely intellectual fear of doing something wrong, the feeling I had when I sat beside the furrows in the walls. There was just a moment, an instant, when I had a calm sensation that there must be something going upwards there. Did a corridor lead upwards in that place? A corridor to which the priests must have opened the door as soon as they saw that I knew there had to be another direction than downwards. They follow me in their thoughts. They do. I know this. If they choose, they can leave their bodies, read my thoughts, and survey every single step I take. My confidence in the entire trial returns. Yes, I am learning from this. You continue downwards because it seems as if you must continue downwards. You set out on a certain path or way of thought in life, and then you simply continue straight ahead until one day you run head-on into a wall. And perhaps you have had many other chances along the way to continue to choose ways that lead upwards and to something better and richer. And you fill your mind with arguments meant to convince yourself that you are doing the right way, and that you are going the right way, and that you are obviously meant to continue. This pyramid begins to intrigue me. Just imagine that I can learn so much by crawling a few hundred arm lengths in absolutely pitch black darkness. What will be next? I'll soon find out. For now, I'll go back to the furrows. Fortunately, errors can be forgiven and corrected. This is almost too easy. I proceed straight ahead along the short length of horizontal corridor and find the triggering mechanism that will remove the obstacle, and then upwards back to the place with the furrows in the wall. And then I will just have to sit there and wait until a new door will be opened. Calm and full of expectation, I crawl back through the horizontal corridor, wasting no time inspecting the walls and ceiling. Neither did I do this on the way through the first time. A little way up the sloping corridor, as expected, I find the passage obstructed by a large stone block, which I attack without a second thought. I hammer and press everywhere, turn my back to it and push my heels against the floor, trying to make the stone move. To the right of this stone one can only just slip in one's fingers, and I use all my strength to pivot the stone or the trapdoor or whatever it is. I puff and pant, but to no avail. The obstacle does not move in the slightest. But I'm not so easily defeated. Without the least bit of panic, I begin to search the walls between the obstruction and the chamber from which I have come. My searching brings results. To the left of the block there is a hole in the rock, and here the smell is a little different than in the corridor, as if fresh air is up there somewhere. After further groping, it turns out that there is a hole in the ceiling of the niche, and I do not hesitate to push my feet against the wall and work my way upwards. The stones are raw and rough-hewn. I continuously scrape my naked back against the rock and hit my knees and toes in my attempts to gain footholds. But it is rather easy to find ledges and furrows where I can place my feet, as if the shaft has been purposely made like this to enable climbing, with some difficulty perhaps, but not impossible. My calm returns in full measure, and I place my feet carefully on the protuberances I find. I have time enough. I'm relaxed. There's no reason to repeat my early breathless haste. If I perceive there are changes in the direction of the shaft, I will immediately heed my inner voice. Now I begin to be rather satisfied with myself. And of course, I could not return to the furrows in the wall. No more that one can go back in time in real life and undo past deeds. That door is barred. Yes, actually, it was blocked. Literally. But it opened upwards to something new. It must have been some kind of pivoting door which blocked the passage, and at the same time opened the entrance to this shaft. Now I work my way laboriously upwards, and outside in everyday life, one also has the possibility of fighting one's way back, of making good out of errors, and regaining step by step a serenity that could have been reached far more easily by listening to one's own intuition from the start. Now I feel I have gained so much experience from this climbing that I could be considered a fully educated priest. They may just as well allow me passage out of the pyramid. Now I have learned what I was meant to learn. What's this? I believe I have found hand-hewn stone here once again. I wonder whether I have again ascended into the pyramid. The shaft is open on one side, and I climb into a grotto as far as I can tell. It seems too small and primitive to be the end of this passageway. I crawl around the walled shaft, which continues right through the grotto straight up, and once again I almost hit my head against the ceiling. A small trip in the opposite direction reveals a rather big hole in the floor. The structure of this place is almost identical to the layout of the grotto below, deep in the pyramid, the one I have come from. A place arrived at by crawling, where you almost hit your head, and a pit to tell you that this is not the end of your search. I must go on, but first I will rest a while. I'm bone tired and exhausted from the climbing, even if I will not admit it. I probably have plenty of time, I think to myself. No one will mind if I rest a bit now that I'm so close to the end of my trial. I notice I'm getting hungry. Some food would be nice. I do not feel like sleeping just now. I want to think of myself as relaxed and cheerful, but all the same I drift into a state of drowsiness, and in this state, just before deep sleep, dream images and impressions alternate. In my mind's eye, the colors of the setting sun wash over the waving blue fabric and the white gold embroidered pennants. I'm sailing again, something rocks and pitches, and again I am in the exit room where the lid of the coffin with the wide wings now seems to grow to an infinite size. The lid grabs me, the wings grab me. I lie on a coffin lid and I fly over the sand and the pyramids southward to the village of my childhood. I see our yellow-toned house with a tipping well, 2 donkeys, and a child who stands in the sand crying inconsolably. Suddenly, it's called inconsolably, I think. Suddenly, I kneel beside this child and place my arm around his waist to comfort him. He's my younger brother, or is he me, or is he both of us? He cries, and the tears streak long stripes down his dirty face while he rubs his eye with his small left fist. Daddy and Mommy have left us, he stutters between sobs, and they will never come back again. Now I also begin to cry, and we sit there in the sand, embracing each other, crying inconsolably. I awaken abruptly in the small grotto within the pyramid, feeling helplessly alone. There's nobody to talk to, nobody who can tell me if it is true that my father and mother have left my younger brother alone, or if this is just something I have dreamt. Suddenly the pyramid seems so alien to me. What am I really doing here? They may just as well keep their pyramid for themselves. I'll get along without the priests. I want to return to the world of human beings, to be among the people of my village, so that I can help them dig out channels and harvest out into the sun and the fertile mud left by the Nile when it withdraws into itself after its yearly inundation of the land. On with it now. Let's get this climbing over with. This is evidently the only way out, so I had better do what the priests expect of me. It probably won't take much to satisfy them. Let's just continue this ascent within the pyramid to the end and then be done with it. No more initiations. I want to live and talk to people, learn something from them, not just sit on some isolated dais, distributing blessings to the simple people seeking help and comfort in the temple. Determinedly, I collect myself and tighten all my muscles, clenching both fists. I crawl back into the shaft and continues upwards. The going here is really difficult because the passage is close to being vertical, and there are not many places to put one's feet for climbing. I push my back against the wall and my legs against the opposite side and succeed in working my way upwards. And after a few arm's lengths, it seems to me, I can feel that I'm directly below another room. As a matter of fact, I thought that I would have had a longer climb, that I was still deep underneath the pyramid. And yet, before there was a distinct passage from rock to brickwork. Resolutely, I place both arms over the edge of the hole and pull myself up, lifting my left leg so that I can swing it up over the edge onto the floor. There's something completely different about this room. We have a dog in the background, so he's commenting on this pyramid. There's something completely different about this room. I feel it instantaneously. The air is fresher, but what strikes me most are the strange acoustics. There are no sounds other than of the soft slapping of my own hands and feet against the stones. But these are reflected back to me, or swallowed by the room in such a way the sounds seem for an instant as sharp as a knife's edge before vanishing in the dark. As if the weak echo repeats the sound seen from within. The finest nuances stand forth so distinctly it seems as if they were painted into a large painting. This must be a room of a considerable size, as I cannot reach the ceiling. I fumble along the wall to the left, and as soon as I feel a firm floor under my feet, I sit down with my back against the wall, or so I think. I narrowly avoid tumbling backwards down into a sloping corridor which leads off from this chamber. I wave my arms widely and kick my legs into the air, attempting to regain my balance, and strike my right arm against the edge of the passageway in my efforts to avoid falling. So this is where I would have arrived, had I heeded my intuition and followed the furrows in the wall. True, it is dark here, but my sense of direction has not left me. This corridor lies in a north-south direction, and undoubtedly it leads to the first downward sloping corridor, and it can be closed by some pivoting stone or other mechanism which the priests control. So I have arrived this far. Now what? I move to a safe position to the right of the passageway behind me and sit and rest a while, resting myself. I do not think so much, I listen. I clap my hands and listen to the answer of the room. Then I make some ooh and ooh sounds and study the acoustics. It is as if my ears hum a little. I can hear the blood trickling around inside my middle ear. Well, let's get it over with. Forward now. I take a couple of probing steps out into the space of the room and feel my way cautiously along the floor. A ramp slopes rather steeply upwards, and I wave my arms to both sides to feel what is there. To the right, I catch hold of the side of another ramp placed at a higher level than the one I'm walking on, and suddenly I pull away terror-stricken. Someone stands there. I just put my hand on a pair of cold feet. This is the first time I feel truly scared. The blood throbs in my temples. Then I grin to myself because I immediately perceived that they are feet of stone, a statue of course. I stoop in the direction of the feet and grope with my hands again. That's right. Legs, loincloth, crossed arms, throat, and an animal head, Anubis the jackal, protector of the spirits of the dead. I breathe heavily, tensely. What is to be found on the left ramp? More legs, more statues. This must be the room of the 48 judges. But one is supposed to encounter these deities only after death. Am I dead now? Did I die down there in the cabin and just have not realized it yet? I am not dead, of course, for then the judges would be alive, not made of stone. How dumb of me. Elated with my discovery, I walk up the ramp and let my hand glide over one pair of legs after the other, just as when I was a small boy I scraped a stick along the joints of the stones of the temple wall to create a repeating clattering sound, especially if one ran fast. So this is the Hall of the Gods. I know these fellows from my student days. I feel as if I am among old friends, even if I cannot see them. But I'm not moved to touch all their faces to find out who they are. The rows of statues continue on both sides, and these rooms seem to go on without end. I sit a while on the ramp, facing the darkness from the way I have come. A curious nervousness flutters in my chest, possessing me, and something presses on my throat. I try to keep up my spirits by repeating to myself that I am among friends. In my thoughts, I jokingly pretend to slap the thighs of some of the statues, but I do not have the courage to carry through with it in reality, musing that I might be condemned to have my own thighs slapped for eternity after my death. My mood swings between a slightly neurotic giggling and this curious oppression of spirit as a fear of dark grows in me. Until now, I had paid no attention to the fact that I had been unable to see anything at all. I had sort of accepted the blindness. But now the dark suddenly feels cold and charged with strange possibilities. It is as if someone is watching me, as if I've become totally transparent to some pervasive presence who can see how bad I am, see all my faults or all my actions in this life and in previous lifetimes. Making an enormously willed effort, I shake off the fear and continue upwards. Now I clearly feel I'm heading in the right direction, so let us get this over with. Onward, no hesitation. I'll try to follow the idea those priests have with this ascent, even if it does not suit me anymore, and then out into the sun. Now, climbing up on a tall stone, I feel I've reached the end of the room. I touch an end wall and discover a corridor. Another passageway starts here. But suddenly I feel as if invisible hands grasp my throat and try to push me down from the stone. Not physically, of course, but from within, psychically. I have to summon all my self-control to hold in check my fear of the dark, hold in check my fear of the dark, my vague fear that I perhaps once did something so terrible that I must now face a violent and painful death. And I cannot see my executioner. He's out there in the dark somewhere. Defiantly, or with a feeling close to this, I crawl into the corridor I discovered. Now I have had enough. I do not want to continue with this. Get it done now. I move faster and feel the wall to the right disappear. Yet another room. Not so big, my hearing tells me, but still a room. It's comfortable here, with no inexorable acoustics as in the Hall of the Statues. And out there in the vast room, strange things can hide more easily. In here, I feel I can cope with the unknown. I rise from my crawling position and confidently take a few steps forward. The tightness returns to my throat. Then a mighty blow hits me over my left eyebrow, reverberating through my skull. My foot did not find the obstacle, but my head did. I struck a rock hanging down into the room, stunning me, spinning everything around. My nose has also been hit. I probe backwards with my right arm and as I sink slowly into a sitting position. Also this time the mental effect of the blow is worse than the physical, though now it really hurts a lot. I can feel blood trickling down my cheek. Tears of humiliation and pain fill my eyes. Each time I find my confidence and decisively think that I'm going in the right direction, obstacles appear and knock me down. I am trying to live up to your requests, I scream inside. What do you have to be in here? A saint? can you only get through if you are already initiated? Can only the initiated be initiated? Furious with pain and disappointment, I crawl under the rock barring my way, only to find any further passage interrupted. It is closed all the way across. True, I can feel air over the obstruction. I realize it must be a lowered wall, one that may be raised and lifted. But I dare not climb over it. I have understood. Back again. My reserves of patience are on the point of total exhaustion. Now I definitely begin to feel locked up and bewildered by these unreasonable demands which being made of me to pass the tests. Why is everything closed off to me? Who do you think I am? You cannot expect a 15-year-old boy to pass tests whose meaning he cannot even fathom. I have ascended up here and entered the room at the end of the chamber with the statues. What else can I do? Answer! I shout at the top of my lungs and hear the echo resonate into the long hall. And this was the end of the second part, to be continued.